Welcome to the Heartlight Sessions, a podcast about light working your way through dark times. I'm Jenee Halstead. I'm a singer-songwriter, holistic vocal coach, intuitive guide, and plant medicine facilitator. I'm also a survivor of childhood abuse, autoimmune issues, and my 30s. I'm on a lifelong healing journey, and along the way, I want to share the ideas and teachings that rock my world. Every week on Heartlight Sessions, I call in artists, healers, and thinkers to explore what's helped them live and thrive from a heart-centered place. Because the heart, it's where the best things happen. If you've ever wondered how to unlock your biggest breakthroughs or how to come back from that stuff that tried to kill you, you know the stuff I'm talking about, the stuff that's supposed to make you stronger. Or if you've ever wondered how to just do you straight from the heart, you're in the right place. So join me, won't you? Let's turn on that heart light. Turning on my heart light. 1,000 volts of sunshine. We are live, and I'm so excited to have this next guest sitting in front of me. I have my friend Lindsey Rose. And I met Lindsey 2017, 18?
I think so, yeah.
We were at Camp Grace with Guru Jagat. We were both volunteering at the time.
Yeah.
And we were volunteering for the fashion show, which we were standing on the edge of the entry of the catwalk. And we were standing across from each other. You were wearing this like red cape. And yeah, it was like I just instantly fell in love with you. And then come to find out that we have the same birthday.
We do. The both of us and the icon John Lennon.
Yes.
We
and
all
and PJ Harvey.
Amazing.
And Jackson Brown.
Jeez.
It goes on and on.
It's an artsy day, isn't it?
It is. It's an artsy day. Yeah, we share that very special day, and then I watched you walk down the runway, not walk, but flow down the runway, and it was like mind-blowing. So Lindsey is a self-declared movement mutt, I would say. Is that what we're going to say? Self-declared movement mutt.
Yeah, absolutely. I am a mixture of all of the different styles of movement that I have studied throughout my life and continue to keep studying and expanding because I am a mover and a student forever.
I am a student forever too. I absolutely love that. Yeah, so dance, choreography, you're such a beautiful dancer, and yoga teacher. So we are celebrating today is the official opening of
Solo Yoga and Boxing. I am acquiring, or I have acquired a yoga studio that I have been teaching at for the last 7 years. And the timing of everything, I mean, it is divine. So the studio dropped in at a time in my life when I had taken a unplanned pause. I was not taking in any more freelance work or adding any other teaching jobs or things to my schedule at the time. I just felt that there needed to be some spaciousness. And I kept praying for the next thing to come in because the last 2 years has been a pretty wild ride in my life, really branching out there and trying to figure out what the thing is that I'm going to land in and see grow and come to fruition over the next 20 plus years of my life. I'm really at that stage where I have taught so much for other studios and other people across the country that I'm wanting that home base and that central container to let all of my creative offerings flow from. So body was in a pause state. I was going through some interesting autoimmune things,
Mm.
and I didn't feel like doing much. So
Yeah.
I rested. And the message that I got from that was that this is an essential resting time.
Mm.
Like when the thing drops in, it's going to be like hit, and you are,
Gangbusters.
yeah, you are going to be going. So I loved that time to just be in a very, very slow, sloth-like, and almost like a hermit
Mm.
type state of being,
Mm.
um, despite the outside pressures around me, encouraging me to do more
Mm-hmm.
and work more, which, yes, it was challenging financially because I was doing the amount of work in the material world that I needed to just pay my bills.
Mm-hmm.
No more than that. Um, but things have shifted now, and I am up for the challenge. I feel like I am much more aligned in the energy of doing and going and jumping
Mm.
up onto that wind horse and riding it to where it wants to go.
Wow. It's so
Yeah.
important to, and it's hard to be able to be in that space of the void, which a lot of my friends are in and have been in for the last 4 years. And I was very much in that, where I was just like, what is going on? I'm like lost. What am I bringing in? Like, what is my mission? All this stuff. And like, yeah, same thing, like kind of earning the bare minimum just to pay the bills. And like, that can be like a very, very frustrating place to be. But if I'm just wondering how you navigated that. It sounded like you navigated it pretty beautifully.
It was definitely hard. It was definitely uh, friction in my relationship to my significant other
Mm-hmm.
around that subject specifically. Um, but he has always been very supportive of how I work in the world. And
Mm-hmm.
since, I mean, my early 20s, I have gone rounds of life having more traditional jobs that are longer hours, 9 to 5, like in one place, either serving at a restaurant or working retail.
Yeah.
Um, and that really can only last about 3 months maximum for me,
Yeah.
especially if I'm not doing any teaching or movement or yoga, dance
Yeah.
outside of that. If it's only
Mm-hmm.
the one thing, my soul like has an identity crisis. I kind of just blow up, and
Yeah.
it's like I get to a point where I'm like, I literally cannot do this anymore. um so those ebbs and flows have happened many times in my life, and I know now, as being in my late 30s, that the movement and the being in a studio is my happy place. This is the work that I have been gifted to do on planet Earth. It's a
Mm-hmm.
joy of mine.
Mm.
Do I not want to do it some days? Absolutely. But through through providing those gifts, I'm also gifting myself the opportunity to get out of my Virgo rising analytical brain that's always hyper fixating on every little aspect of life, and
Mm-hmm.
self reflecting more.
I
And
have Venus in Virgo. I'm like, I get it.
yeah,
Yeah.
when I get to teach any movement class, whenever I'm in a room moving bodies, I take that as a very sacred task. And I always am presenting the movement in a way that it is a prayer for the people in the room, that through what I have to teach and what I have to say is relief for whoever's in the room that day for their greatest good. And when that happens, inevitably, I leave the room feeling so much better than when I walked in, because I can't be in my own headspace when I am being a channel for movement with live bodies in front of me. There just is no room for the BS and the stuff that is cycling through when I'm laying on my couch with my cats scrolling Instagram.
Yes.
You know,
In comparison mode.
Yeah, it's an immediate drawing me into the present moment. And that is also medicine for me. So I'm very grateful that this alignment has happened, where the studio owner of solo yoga and boxing said, hey, we want to sell this studio. The ideal person for the studio to be handed off to, in my mind, is you. Are you interested? So this really was an alchemy of timing between the opportunity arising and me knowing that that was the right opportunity for my life's path from here.
Are you staying with the boxing?
Yes. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Yep. We're staying with the boxing. I mean, a huge part of my teaching, movement and yoga, is rhythm, is the rhythmatic intelligence. And there's such a satisfying rhythm to your body when you feel your mitts hit the bag, and you have that like 1, 2, 3 pop 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 happening in the body. It's a different rhythm. It hits literally, no pun intended, it hits differently than when it's just you on your mat, doing the yoga, doing the breath, or you in the dance studio listening to the music and meeting the music. It's a different exploration of your own rhythm and strength.
So inside, is there like a boxing ring?
There isn't a ring.
Okay.
So the space is kind of like half and half. So one half of the studio space is boxing. We have 12 teardrop bags from the ceiling, the aqua bags. And then there's a divider and a yoga space on the other side. So it's the best of both worlds.
Yeah.
We're creating a space for warrior saints.
I love it.
To have that real life practical application and experience of themselves.
I love that. Are you also going to be teaching dance in there?
Yeah, eventually. I want to do some classes that are a little bit more open. So not like you're learning choreography, but just movement exploration. And I also do want to do some fundamental choreography classes, because that gets people excited. People, people want to dance. We were made to dance. It was dancing and singing were one of our very first ways to express ourselves artistically.
Exactly.
So everybody has that deep cellular remembrance for dance and for singing. So, and I'm not sure if you feel this way about the voice, but if you have a body, you can dance.
I totally tell people if you have a body you can sing, everybody can sing. I say that all the time. It's like my biggest mission.
Absolutely.
But it's
Somewhere
like,
along the line,
yeah,
somebody told you that you couldn't sing or you couldn't dance, and
exactly.
then you stopped, but
And you
you
can
you
always
can.
pinpoint it with people, almost always. It's like teenage years, someone told you to shut up or you sounded bad, and like you're in the choir and then somebody puts you in the back. It's like, it's always like, it's almost always pinpointable, you know?
Hmm.
Yeah, it makes me really sad. I really, I worked with a lot of kids back in the day, and like their parents were always like, I wanted to sing and so, but then I heard, this and that, and someone said I couldn't, and I started like hearing that more and more from parents, and I was like, this is so weird.
Yeah,
I'm like, someone hands you a Lamborghini and they don't tell you how to drive it. And that's like literally the same thing with the vocal apparatus. Why do people think that it's like, okay, you don't know how to sing, so therefore you can't sing? It doesn't make any sense.
doesn't make sense.
You have to learn how to use the apparatus. You have to learn how to drive the
Absolutely.
car.
You got to learn how it operates, and
Exactly.
then you can start to fine tune it and strengthen it and become confident in it. And the
Yeah.
same is with the body and with dancing movement.
Yeah.
So I also have been playing with over the last couple years, um, syncing up movement to mantra
Mm.
and having a 40-minute class where the body is moving to one set of mantra throughout the entire class. So that
That's
becomes
amazing.
a little bit more ingrained into the physiology of the body
Mm.
because that's what you're listening to the whole time.
That's amazing. Who's here?
You're running around the yard right now.
What? Who is?
There's a
Oh, it's
bunch of
free.
deer.
Oh, a deer. Okay. It's freezing up a little bit. So,
Okay.
well, that's amazing. What's one mantra that you're like working on with the class?
Yeah, yeah. Healing mantra, Ramadasa,
Yeah.
Sase So Hung.
Nice.
Yeah. And that one, it doesn't take very long to get hooked
Yep.
in your mind
Yep.
either. So I like the just the more compact mantras so that if people have not worked with or heard these mantras before, then it's more likely to stick
Stick.
with them.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Yep, it is cool. And I about a year or yeah, it's been over the past 2 years. I did a couple of pieces of dance choreography for concert dance to mantra music. And that was a completely different um, experience as someone who's watching it from the audience and seeing it on stage with the sound of the mantra coming at you through the big speakers and the lighting as well. I synced up the lighting to move through the chakra system. So
What?
so the
Ah,
beginning
mm,
of this piece was was like a deeper red hue, and as the
mm.
11 minute dance went on, it cycled you all the way through the chakras and
Wow.
ended in a nice bright white light.
Right at the crown.
Yeah, that was Tachatra Chakravarti.
Nice.
And Simrit does it sounds cinematic. The
Yeah.
first time I heard that mantra, I was like, this would make an incredible dance piece because it
Mm.
just takes you on this journey. So I pulled from the imagery of yoga and just a sacred ceremony of what those shapes are that the bodies are making and what the movements are of bowing
Mm.
to create a piece that was transformational, not just for the dancers partaking in it, but for the audience members as well.
Wow. What is concert? You call it concert?
Concert contemporary.
Yeah, what is that?
Yeah, so within the dance sphere, there are dance studios that children grow up dancing at, and
Mm-hmm.
some of them are ballet based. Other studios are for competition dance, which is a whole realm of dance training that I happen
Mm-hmm.
to grow up in.
Like
And
lyric
then,
dance and
yep. And as you make it to the college age, you get a little bit more into modern dance, as well as contemporary dance, but in a way that the movement and the length of the dance pieces can be anywhere from 3 minutes to 34 minutes. Whereas at the dance studios, those dancers are learning choreography and rehearsing these dances that are about 3 minutes
mm,
maximum. So in the concert dance sphere, there will be a whole evening, a whole conceptualized storyline and theme that can range in time from, again, like 5 minutes to an hour.
whoa. With all the
So,
same dancers?
yes, they are not all on stage for the
Mm,
entire time, but there's different exits and entrances. It's very much like how a movie is set up. So there's different scenes, there's different feelings to each scene, there's different lighting. The
yeah.
music takes you on a journey.
Yeah. I'm thinking
So,
about the great studio in New York. I can't for the life of
Alvin
me.
Ailey.
Yeah, the Alvin Ailey Dance Company. Thank you. And
Yes.
just some of their, taking you on this like amazing journey. And so you've
Yes,
got, it's almost like a play.
it is. Yeah, it is very much so a journey. And it's a journey in the process of creation too. I
Mm,
remember when I first started choreographing, I would figure out with the music what every single movement was going to be, what timing of the music it was going to be on, and I would teach it to the students verbatim, like, this is what it is, you repeat it. I would give them the corrections to make sure that it looked exactly like how I wanted it to look. This is very like graspy, like it has to be this way, you know.
mm-hmm,
Didn't really leave much wiggle room for mystery, or a happy accident to drop in,
mm-hmm,
because I was very much like, it has to be this way. And when I did the piece that I was just talking about, the Chatra Chatra Varti, as well as anything that I've done really over the last 7 years, I pick a song, I have an idea, I might make 3 or 4 8 counts of movement, and then I leave this space open for the dancers and the divine
mm,
to create the piece together with me.
mm,
And I find that when we're working in the moment and there's a little less structure to what the exact movement is,
mm-hmm,
things appear that
mm,
I would have never thought of in a million years. Like, things happen in the studio where I'm like, that is the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. We're going to keep that.
mm-hmm.
That's going in the dance right here, and then let's keep going.
Cool.
So, yeah, that's
So it's
been
a co-creation like between it's like a triumvirate or what's the word?
yeah, a
Yeah.
trio of collaboration
Yeah.
between
Between the
myself, the
divine.
dancers, and the divine.
Wow. That's
Yeah.
beautiful.
And that's sometimes it can be a, a challenge to come in and just trust that whatever is going to come out will be the right thing, because
Mm-hmm.
so many choreographers would just want the control of the space and using the dancers as their paintbrush and what they want to see,
Right.
rather than how would this idea move through your body, dancers? How
Mm.
you're the ones dancing it, so how can we create that experience for you?
And how old are these? Are these young women or
Yes, yeah. So these dancers are ages 18 to 24.
fun?
So they're in the pre-professional stage of their
Mm.
dance training. And so then I also get to play a little bit more with them
Yeah.
because they've experienced a little bit more life. So they have
Yeah.
some deeper emotions
Yeah.
to draw from, and we have some larger topics to
I
discuss.
love that.
It's a blessing.
Are you going to
Absolutely is.
continue? Yeah, are you going to continue to teach at this like caliber with your yoga studio or outside of it? Are you going to be able to
Yeah.
balance
Yeah,
that? We'll
I
see,
think so. I think so. I think so. Uh, yeah, choreography and dance is so deeply ingrained in me that I could step away, and I have stepped away for a year, 2 years, and have been able to come back to it. And it's always amazing to me, just that like muscle memory and that mental muscle that I had spent my youth really flexing and working just stays with me. And
Yeah.
I think I used to put pressure on myself to just pick one, like
Mm-hmm.
just pick yoga or just pick dance and just do the one thing. But I find that when there's an ebb and flow of, if I'm working more in the dance world and there's just a sprinkle of yoga, and then it shifts and I'm working more in the yoga world and there's just a sprinkle of dance, each thing that is a little bit more bigger and pulling more focus in my life becomes informed by when it was reversed, if that
Mm.
makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So like if
Mm-hmm.
I'm really working in the dance world, then when I shift back into the yoga sphere, I'm not the same yoga teacher, because I have learned so much from that work in the dance world. And
Mm.
then when that reverses, it's like I'm not the same dance teacher because I've evolved spiritually through
Totally.
my own personal practice and through what I am gifting other humans.
One thing that I love about the women that I met in that community, in the Rama community, is this thread of this of spirit and source or God or whatever you want to call it, and that being sort of the foundation for the exploration of like whatever your medium is, you know? And yeah, I really love watching you and seeing your evolution and how you know, just you're always working and you keep evolving. And I was thinking about what you were saying earlier in the beginning of the conversation about, you know, when you're not, you know, creating, if you're just working or doing something and you're not creating, there's an unraveling. And I really, you know, I've been thinking a lot about, because I'm going to be 50. I can't believe it next year. I just can't believe
What?
it. I'm going to be 50.
Forever in my head, are you like 40?
I know. Me too. It's just
Great.
crazy. It's like, how does this happen? And I'm like, well, okay. I just bow so deeply to artists because people don't really understand. Like, when you make a commitment to be an artist and to bow to that, you kind of have to navigate the rough waters. I'm sure, like working in an office and getting, you know, 80 hours a week under your belt, I'm sure that's just like, its own thing. But I really so relate to everything you're saying. And it's like, oh my God, all the odd jobs I've done and all the shit that I still do in full fucking commitment to my art, and I'm slowly building an empire, but it's like, this is real. Like and I have friends that are in their 70s and 80s that are
Mhm.
like just retired from waiting tables or just, and they're dancers or they're musicians. And it's like, it's a big spiritual path.
It is. It's not for the faint-hearted.
No, it's not.
It's really a huge blessing, and it also is the most difficult thing to maneuver through.
Mm-hmm.
The first time that I had my I call it my life crisis with dance, or like my breakup with dance.
Mm-hmm.
I was 19 years old. I was living in New York City. I was pursuing my dance career. I had my heart set on this one job, which was So You Think You Can Dance. It
Mm-hmm.
was like season 3, So You Think You Can Dance. I made it to Las Vegas. I had auditioned in New York. I'm like, I'm going to be on the show. I did um, all of my visualizations. I made my vision board. I'm like, this is it. This is my destiny. I'm going to be a famous dancer because of this show. And I went to Las Vegas and I made it through the first 2 rounds, and then I got cut after the hip hop choreography. I flew back to New York, and I don't think that I left my bedroom for like 2 days.
Mm.
I was just sobbing, calling my mom.
Mm.
Like, I don't think that I'm supposed to dance. This was my thing. This was it. I keep getting I keep getting the no's from
Yeah.
all the auditions, you know? I was just naive. I
Yeah.
came from a winning competition background and had not
Mm-hmm.
experienced defeat before in the dance realm, and moved out to the big city, and it was just like, no, 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 no. And I did not have any tools whatsoever
Mm.
to deal with that in a
Mm.
healthy way.
Mm.
So so then I really like pulled back from dance. That was my first time in my life that I was like, okay, well, maybe this isn't the path. And I moved from New York out to Las Vegas, and I was living in Las Vegas with a friend of mine. I didn't get hired for any dance jobs. I didn't move there for any dance jobs. I was
Mm.
just like, New York City is not for me.
Yeah.
I'm moving to Vegas. And I started working at Lululemon, and I worked at Lululemon for 3 years, for 1 year in Vegas. And then I moved to Los Angeles with my sister, and I worked at the Lululemon in Beverly Hills for 2 years. And that's where I found yoga,
Wow.
through that job. And I ate it up. I was taking yoga all over LA with a lot of the best teachers of that era.
So a lot of yoga teachers of that era. So Tracy Anderson was in that.
Yeah, I did a little like bounce back and forth because I wasn't quite ready to land somewhere. So um, I went to school in Los Angeles for dance at Santa Monica College, and while I was there, I got into teaching fitness. I was a bar teacher for Pure
Mm.
Barre, and I
Wow.
taught for that company for about 5 years. And that was really my first teaching to adult humans
Wow.
ever. So that really taught me a lot about just the things that a teacher needs to know: how you're speaking voices, what words you're saying, what your sound is, how you're moving around the space and looking at all the
Mm.
bodies,
Mm.
how you're cueing, what your musicality is,
Mm.
all of those important details. Uh, and then, yeah, I bounced back to Minnesota for a couple years and still kept dancing and teaching, and then went back out to LA So I was like, I'm still going to dance. I want to dance for Beyonce.
Mm-hmm.
And I ended up teaching at the Tracy Anderson method in Brentwood. And
That's
that was
crazy.
a very wild, wild, wild experience. That movement methodology is so layered and complex.
Yeah.
Like, I had to learn their mat class. They had dances, cardio dances. They had their own specialty reformers made. They had their band classes. So they had therabands hanging from the ceiling that you
Wow.
would pull down. And it was kind of like this, like there was less gravity because your hands were pressing on the band. So like
Yeah.
less impact when you were jumping. But that was like a whole movement school in and of itself.
Did you have
Um,
to pay to learn, or did they just hire you and train you?
no, they hired me. So when I was in their teacher training program, I was getting paid for my study hours and for um, my assistant teaching. Of course, I got to the end of the program and they offered me a job, and I said no, thank you.
Really?
Yeah, because it was not, it didn't feel like the right atmosphere for me. It was
Yeah.
very, very much based on what the physical body looks like,
Yes.
and the balance of how much one was exercising and what they were eating. I didn't feel like that was
That
right.
sounds crazy.
Yeah. So it didn't seem healthy for me there. It was a kick-ass workout, but I had already had so much body image complexities in my mind
Mm,
that it was not a healing,
mm.
conducive, forward
Yes.
moving atmosphere in that category for me. So I said, thank you for letting me learn all of these things, but no
Peace.
thanks.
And then from there, like, so I met you in LA. Were you living in LA at the time when I met you,
No,
or
no, I
I
was
feel like
living
you
in
had left
Minnesota.
already.
Yeah, I had left
Yeah.
already. So, yeah, after that last time in Los Angeles, I moved back to Minnesota and did my yoga teacher training. And I was like, okay, I want to teach yoga. And
Mm.
that was a big gift to myself. And I've been teaching since then. That was 12 years ago.
Wow.
So, yeah.
So did you initially train in Kundalini, or what did you train in?
My first yoga teacher training was in Hatha yoga.
Mm-hmm.
So it had the
Mm-hmm.
vinyasa style of
Mm-hmm.
class comes from that lineage.
Mm-hmm.
And I chose a program purposefully that was not a corporate yoga
Mm-hmm.
program
Yeah.
because I was really the yoga posture as a dancer, like the yoga posture is very simple for me to understand and
Mm-hmm.
like perfect, if you will,
Yeah.
because I just had a really deep level of body awareness. So I was more interested in learning the philosophy behind yoga and learning more about Ayurveda and Tantra, like
Mm.
tantric energy,
Mm.
the chakra system, the nadis, the marma points. I wanted to
Mm.
know the esoteric and the subtle
Mm.
teachings. And so I found this wonderful program through Devanadi Yoga in Minneapolis. And they still, to this day, their programming is like mind blowing to me.
Really?
Yeah,
Wow.
how it's just like all of the layers. They do a
Mm.
really good job of coagulating aspects. It's a yoga is a very broad subject.
Yes, it is.
So that was my first yoga teacher training. And then 5 years later, I found Kundalini yoga because I was like, I want more meditation. I want more breath
Mm-hmm.
work. I'm
Yeah.
missing that from my yoga practice. And boy, did that give me a whole lot of breath, whole lot of mantra, a whole lot of meditation.
It's like I say it's the oh, what's the word? It's the the weird house on the end of the cul-de-sac on the left. It's not
It
for everybody, but
No, it's not. But I can say that through my experience in Kundalini yoga and specifically through Rama and Guru Jagat, I was opened up into a whole different awareness of my own sound current,
mm,
of my own creativity.
mm,
Like I was very dance centric and I love to paint and I love to
mm,
sing and
mm,
that's what led me into doing voice lessons with you, and
mm-hmm.
we did voice lessons for it was
A
like about a
while.
year, yeah,
Yeah.
and got a ukulele and started playing an instrument, and I think that time in my life was just so rich with creativity because of the yoga practice and the encouragement from the community as well. Is like you can be you can be a bank teller and then have this yoga practice and create beauty and creativity in everything that you do.
Yeah. That was a
There's
big teaching of hers, which I really appreciated. And she really demanded that of like the people who really studied, with her in the women's teachings. It was like, it wasn't an option. Like you were going to do, each year we would have, you got to pick up an instrument or you got
yep,
to learn how to
write a
do,
book.
yeah, you got to write a book or you got to, public speak. And that stuff like changed my life.
It
It's
did.
like it's stuff that I still use to this day,
Yeah,
you know?
absolutely. It was a blessing.
It was
So
a blessing.
I'm grateful that I was at that place in that time
I know.
and I got to meet you.
I know. And the women that I met from that community are just still to this day like the most I just revere those women the most. Like everyone that I know from that community has gone out. They were already doing amazing things. And then they just continue to go out and do these incredible, like everybody's evolving. And
Yes.
that's the one thing that I think is so interesting about the women that were drawn into that space is because they were so, again, like spirit really was guiding each, like we all have such a deep, deep relationship with like, I don't know, with our commune with God and with nature and our own personal evolution and just being like light workers or star seeds or whatever, and just being like so hungry to sort of evolve.
Hmm.
So in any subject, movement and dance or, just like everybody I know is doing something so unique
Yes.
and forefront.
Yes. Yes. And visible, I think. I was
And that was
hiding.
also, yeah. Like what were you saying?
So I was hiding for the last couple of years, I think. That was like a big expansion for me during that time, which was like 5 to 7 years ago. And then after that big expansion, a lot of things shifted in that
Mm-hmm.
particular community. And 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 that really put each of us in a position to have to navigate it on our own,
Yeah.
of like,
Yeah.
okay, what this was a great tool and experience, and now how does that weave its way into my life and how I understand my relationship to God to
Mm-hmm.
look like, to feel like, um, and how am I gonna like craft that in a way that is unique to me?
Absolutely. What I gained from that time, it's just like there's so many priceless, is that the word? Just like so many teachings that are really like just even the idea of the idea of forward motion and the idea of like understanding your own sort of like spaceship, your own I guess I don't even remember what she used to call it, but it's like seeing, before I was in that community, I was really hiding, like hiding in plain sight. I was on stage performing in front of the public, but I was literally like hiding, and you can see it in my face. You can see like the darkness and almost like a flower that is inverted. And
Mm-hmm.
through that work, I was able to kind of pull those layers of fear, just the my own internal terrors of being seen and witnessed, and pulling those things off, which are really like, they are subconscious thought forms. People can say that shit's crazy. If they're not like, if they don't understand the yoga, or they don't understand like the realms of like,
How the human
that kind of
psyche works.
teaching and how that
Yeah.
works. But
Yeah.
it really truly is like, it really truly affects your field, your energy field, and how you're moving through the world.
Yeah, I want to rewind to you and your like unfolding and evolution, because from where I sit watching you evolve from that time until now, like the album that you just created, whoa. When I first listened to the whole thing beginning to end, it immediately went on loop. And I think I
Thanks.
listened to it for like 2 days in a row
Wow.
because the sound currents and the different lineages of
Mm.
mantras that you pulled from
Mm-hmm.
were just like straight from the mother. There
Mm.
was just a resonant, very clear frequency coming from each of the songs. So
Mm.
I am very curious to ask you on your own podcast
Yeah.
about your work and your journey in creating that album, because yeah, the lineages that they're from, I don't know very much about, but I'm curious to hear your take on that.
Yeah, thank you so much. It just means the world to me to hear you say that and to be recognized in that way. Um, yeah, I really feel like this was a cocooning with like the mother, like with the ma frequency, with this love of the divine. And I, when I started it, I knew I didn't want to just do the Gurmukhi, um, mantras. And I had I had been doing a lot of study in like all of the esoteric realms, and I was also at that time starting to serve psychedelic medicine, and pulling that in, and it just expanded my awareness and consciousness of like, of the field of sound, and even more than what I was doing. I mean, Kundalini just fully opened up that field for me, and understanding sound and the sound current and everything. But yeah, when I started down the path of psychedelic medicines, it opened me up in another way, and it kind of took those teachings and like amplified them, And I feel like I went through sort of a initiation with sound, and I had always loved the Sanskrit mantras. So there's two
Mm-hmm.
mantras on there, Asatoma and the Gayatri mantra. I had always
Mm-hmm.
loved those Sanskrit mantras. Like any Sanskrit mantra that I would hear, I would like almost cry, like I would want to cry. I would feel like I knew
Mm-hmm.
the mantras like deeply. And but I was very resistant, because I was like, I'm not, I'm not Hindi. I'm not like, this isn't my faith, and I don't really know if this is appropriate. And I already
Yeah.
came from like one, situation
Yeah.
where I was like questioning my own appropriation around things.
Yes.
And
Yep.
so but yeah, I just kind of like prayed on it and sat with it, and was reading a book that was talking a lot about the goddesses,
Mm.
and kind of like through the goddess work. that's more where like all of this entered. So it was like through the initiation and the ideas of the goddess work, that's where like each mantra sort of came in. And like the Tara, the green Tara, like that was one of my, I sat with that mantra and meditated with it and just allowed that to come in, you know, and they've all come in sort of a feeling way
Mm,
of like how would I embody this mantra? Like I've heard so many good versions of it, but how would this feel as the divine feminine moves through me,
mm-hmm,
you know?
mm-hmm.
And so I would just sit with it and I'd play with like different melodies or whatever. And really, like when I got into the studio, like Dave, who I work with in Boston, I'd be like, there's this or there's this. And he'd be like, oh, the first one. And it was kind of always like that with every melody. And the acetoma was a prayer that had come to me a while back. And it's really how I knew it was a prayer to help with self-worth and self-esteem.
Ooh, wow.
When it's really, and it makes sense because it's actually a prayer of like, the words are, Lord, lead me from the unseen, from the unseen to the seen, from the unreal to the real, lead me from death into life. So it's like lead me
Wow.
from that illusion of the not self.
Mm,
So that acetoma had like I sang that in the way of how I wanted to like tender my soul. If you know
yes,
someone is suffering, it's like not a lullaby, but just a whisper of this most sacred prayer.
it's so beautiful.
Thank
I
you.
mean, that one really sticks out to me. All of them have their own very pure, beautiful, soul-filled quality to them.
Yeah.
But I also wanted to ask you about, is it Ide Weiwei?
Yeah, Ide Wede Wede. It's so breathtaking. It's a Yoruban song
It
that I
talks about
think,
Oshun, right?
yeah, about Oshun. It came through the lineage. I think it came through to Brazil, like through the African lineage.
Hmm.
And it's about Oshun, and it's actually about her like her bracelets, which is very interesting. And I don't really know like the significance of what the bracelets are, but yeah, I just
Interesting.
that like melody always like haunted me. And then I took lessons with Karen Orr's daughter, who's like an amazing, like she sits in ceremony and plays, and she's a
Wow.
profound like player, like amazing guitarist and singer. And so yeah, I took lesson with her and I wanted to learn the Brazilian finger picking style. So it's kind of like it's still like I'm just in the zygote like baby face. I would never play in front of a Brazilian, but like unless it was her, but like I'm in
Yes.
the, baby phases of like learning that guitar style, but yeah, I
Wow.
just wanted to do songs that like really hit my heart, you
Was the
know.
process of making that into an album healing or cathartic for you?
Yeah, it was very healing and it was also like I felt like I had finally found my place in music. I could not get back to like the singer-songwriter world. There's like nothing I wanted in the singer-songwriter world. Like I was already kind of unhappy before the pandemic and I put out an album like I was like, this is it. This is the album. I'm like so happy. I was like in this stride, like 2019. I'm like, and then like the pandemic hits and I'm just like deflated balloon. So many artists were, I think.
Yeah.
I don't know, the further you get from the stage, the harder it is,
Yeah.
you know? And then I'm like, okay, years are going by. I haven't been back on the stage. I did a few performances. I was like super dysregulated.
Mm,
And I was like, there's nothing about this world that
that.
I want
Yeah.
anymore.
Hmm.
You know,
Well, you're a different
yeah,
person.
Yeah.
you evolve. And
Yeah.
for similarly for me in dance is I wanted the big jobs. I
Yep.
wanted to dance for the big artists. And my exodus from LA was I just didn't want to be in that atmosphere anymore. It wasn't conducive for my own continued growth
Totally.
spiritually or as a mover,
Totally.
um, which is really difficult. I still deal with, that mentality of like, when I, when am I going to do something noteworthy and blah, blah, blah.
Mm-hmm.
But what I'm doing right now, as far as spirit is concerned, is significantly more noteworthy than me, just having the clout of dancing for a famous artist or being
Yeah.
in a movie or
Yep.
doing something that's ultimately just feeding my own ego. And then once I
Exactly.
do that and check that off the list, then what is my spirit going to want me to do? What I'm
E-
doing right now.
Exactly. And yeah, so finding like this way home, I guess I would say with mantra, it's like I actually am not singing about myself. I
Hmm.
was like so bored of myself. I don't want to sing a
Yeah.
singer-songwriter song about love and heartbreak. Which I never sang those songs anyways, but like I'm like now singing, spirit is like moving through me.
Yes.
I'm singing to the other things in the world, and it's not about me at all.
Hmm.
And I can just let that pass through me, you know. So now I am like, I want to get back out there. I just have to figure out how I'm going to do that, you know?
Great. Well, you just keep praying on it and it will
Yeah.
drop in,
Thank you. Yeah.
because the sound current of that, and I've heard a few of your other songs in your previous albums, but whew, the sound resonance that comes
Yeah.
out in this album is
Yeah.
really really something special. So
Thank
please
you.
continue on
Thank
your
you.
exploration in that realm and keep gifting us your beautiful expression of how spirit wants to move through you. And
Thank you.
I'll keep doing that with dance
I
and with
love it.
bodies.
I love it. I love that promise. Any like cool revelations lately that you've had kind of in all the things that you're playing with and
Yeah, I mean, the big one I talked a little bit about earlier was just like creating space.
mm,
know, we are habitually conditioned to fill everything up to the brim.
yeah.
Our schedules, our wallets, our refrigerators, our
Mm,
gas tanks, like everything, it needs to be full. And there's a real trust in the divine and yourself when you start cutting things out
mm,
and you resist the urge to fill it with something.
mm,
You're just like, I'm going to say no to the things that I really don't want to be doing. I'm going to say no to the people that I really don't want to be hanging out with. I'm going to cut out the food or drink habits that I feel like are not conducive to my well-being anymore.
mm-hmm.
And instead of finding something to replace it right away, like sitting in that space is like this liminal area where you can kind of just like float
Mm,
and and let the next things come to you instead of going out there and chasing and filling it up. So
I love that.
that's what I'm also just like teaching is like, how can
Mm,
you create more space in your physical body? How can you
mm,
shift your relationship and your perception of your body and space like around you by creating as much width and height and depth in how the body is moving as well as the breath.
mm,
And through that you're also making more expansion and space in your mind. You're
mm-hmm.
getting a almost like you're suspended in outer space where like really, I mean, unless you're in a rocket ship or there's an asteroid projecting itself through space, like you have to wait until something passes by you to grab it or to touch it, you know? So I think that's where I'm at. Like,
I love that.
yeah.
I've been getting a lot of like the image lately of the tree of life or the toroidal field that is us, and that there's a you know, the flow, it's the waves, it's the tides, and like there has to be a give and receive. So all things go out and all things come back, and just that idea of the toroidal field or the tree that's constantly recirculating. And I think if you're stuffing your life with all these things and you're numbing yourself out and this and that, it's like you're not making room for the receiving aspect.
Absolutely.
You know?
Yeah. It's the same concept of if you're gripping your money so tightly in your palm, then your hand isn't open enough for more to come in.
Exactly. I love that.
So it's that realization of the grip strength, and you know, it doesn't always need to be open, but like you said, it's a giving and a receiving, and when you're receiving, you cannot receive when you're gripping and holding and condensing and contracting.
Exactly.
There's a natural breath and ample liminal space to receive.
Yep. I love that. Oh, it's so good to connect with you. Let's not make so much time go by next time.
No.
I want to know more and be in your life and like
Absolutely. Well, hey, I have a
take a
studio
class.
now, so you come up here to Minnesota
I would
and
love to.
we'll get you to teach a women's vocal
I would love
healing
that.
experience.
I would love that.
And we'll
Get
go
out of
from
the
there.
heat
Yeah.
of
Don't come in the
Arizona.
winter.
No, I'll come when it's too hot here.
Perfect.
Yeah.
That sounds great.
When do
Thank
the
you
doors open?
They're already open. I'm just like taking it over.
Cool.
So it's just going to keep rolling along like it has been. And around May, June, I'll start to release some new programming and new events and offerings. I'm really excited to bring to Wisconsin, like the studio's in Wisconsin. Okay. So when you think of Wisconsin as like beer and cheese, like those are the hobbies in Wisconsin. But there is a community that's really wanting, you know, events that do not revolve around drinking.
Yes.
Events that promote healing and wellness and connection in the community. And so I look forward to being a little cosmic event planner of sorts in Wisconsin.
I love it. And I will totally take you up on coming and teaching. So
yeah, it was a pleasure. Thank you so much, Jenee.
Thank you. The Heartlight Sessions podcast is executive produced and hosted by me, Jenee Halstead. It's edited, mixed, and mastered by me too. And that theme song you hear, it's called Heartlight. And yep, you guessed it, it's from my record Disposable Love. Got questions about a certain healing modality or about heart-centered healing? Or maybe you just need some advice on life, love, or creativity? Send it my way. Email me at letters@heartlightpodcast.com. Until next time, I'm Jenee Halstead, and thanks for listening to Heartlight Sessions. Turning on my heart light, 1,000 volts of sunshine, raise a burning soul.